everyone, I'm Ron,
And I'm Nick.
and welcome to another episode of Legacy of the King.
Yes, episode 2, part 2. Right, the conversation continues. What is a man, part 2?
All right, so last episode, bro, we had a serious conversation.
Yes, we did.
Right, we spoke about a lot of things. Right, I think we ended on honesty,
Honesty.
honesty. Right, so we're gonna continue the the list of things, and well, we'll bounce off some ideas back and forth. We do it as off the top. Nothing here is scripted.
All right.
Also, guys, don't forget, right? Make sure like and share, all right, and
And subscribe.
subscribe, and yeah. So help us to get up to 1,000 subscribers, so that we could better serve you, give you more quality, better quality, all right. So
Yeah.
ready to get into it?
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. So um another thing that I have on the list, another thing that I have on the list is um, courage. And some people think courage is being fearless, and that's actually not the case.
Mm.
Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage actually is doing something despite being afraid. A lot of us, well, a lot of us were told growing up as children that, you know, be brave, be courageous, don't fear anything. Fear is an illusion. But if we be completely honest, I think you would agree. That's all well and good in theory, but practically, I don't I don't think that someone could actually say that they have no fear.
Mm.
Yes, I think people have some fear in some way, shape, or form,
All right.
right? But what courage is, and I like to hear your take on this. What courage is being afraid of a situation, right? Being afraid of the outcome of the situation, the potential outcome of the situation, but still acting despite that fear being there. What do you think about that?
I agree. I agree. Because from what I look at courage as being is very similar in terms of, so for example, if you're afraid of, let's say, public speaking, right? For want of a better, for ease of things.
Of example.
Yes.
Mhm.
Um, if you're afraid of public speaking because of, for whatever reason, you're afraid of being around crowds, maybe you're afraid to because you're not confident enough in yourself, maybe, whatever it is. Despite that fear, like if you have something of value to say or something to contribute, right? Despite that fear, the courage will be there for the message that you need to relate,
Mm.
right? The courage to, which would overcome the fear, right? Um, of course, you'll still be afraid, but the courage is stronger, right? and to be able to execute what you need to do despite that fear being there is, yeah, that's what I think it is, you
Mm.
know. And it is overcoming, well, maybe not overcoming completely, but with practice and over time, as you know, with consistency, things will get a lot easier. And then the fear will still be there, yes, but it will be to minimal,
Mm.
right? And to add to that point also, fear is important, right? Because fear helps us to grow. It helps us to basically take check of ourselves, you know. Um, so fear is not always bad,
Mhm.
right? It is there for a reason. It is for a specific purpose. But the courage is also there as a skill that we need to develop.
Mm. And I'm actually glad that you mentioned public speaking, because a lot of people would love to be leaders in their own right, whether
Mhm.
it be the leader of a a sporting team, the leader in a team in work.
All right.
It might be in a department, some department, whether it be marketing department, HR, whatever, and you are the manager,
Mhm.
or or you or you've been given to lead a specific team within the department.
Right.
To be able to lead that team, you have to be able to inspire the team, right? And to be able to inspire that team, that means you have to know how to use words effectively. You have to be able to relate to people, relate to others. But to even before we even get there, you have to have the courage to speak in front of others. Because if you're afraid and you let the fear cripple you, people will they don't even know how they're doing it, but they will read the fear
Hmm.
and they won't believe anything you say,
Correct.
right? I know some of us might have been fearful and done it, did the actual public speaking with that fear there, right? That takes some semblance of courage too.
Yes, it
However,
does.
to be able to see the fear, observe the fear, and throw it to the side and speak as if you have no fear, that is the big challenge, right? And I think as men, in order to overcome that, I think we need to, again, something I would have mentioned in the first episode, look at ourselves honestly and truthfully in the mirror without being defensive. But you would have mentioned that I would have told you that months ago,
All right.
right? And it's coming back up,
Yeah.
in order for us to be courageous as men, right? Because, okay, we're using the example of the public speaker, but what if it comes to defending your family, right?
Yeah.
The situation might be frightening, right? And the consequence could be loss of life. But that is part of the job of being a man,
Correct.
to risk your life for your family, right? And we're going to get into that whole family thing because we know in modern society right now, there is a lot of tension between the sexes,
All right.
that where family is actually on the back burner. So we're not going to get into that right now. That's another episode for another time.
Right.
However, as it relates to the example right now, as a man, it is our responsibility to protect our family to the point where we could even risk losing our life. But knowing that what we would have done would have saved our family's lives, right? Is a tough pill to swallow, but it's our nature to protect,
Right.
right?
Agreed.
It's our nature to protect. And to develop the courage to do that is not only important, but necessary, right? I think, and tell me what you think about this. I think right now we've become so selfish as the male of the species that we only seek things that boost our ego, when the reality is our sole purpose is to continue to create legacy long after we're gone, to ensure that our genes carry on into the next generation and the next. But right now, that is not the purpose, right? What, what do you think about that?
As it stands, I agree with what you said because looking at how, I mean, we've seen, you and I know many examples of such,
Too many.
and it's really disheartening, to see, to know the quantity of it, is rampant, you know, and like, and I'm glad you asked my opinion on this because last week's episode we mentioned a number of things that a man is not, right? One of them was the womanizing, right? But there are many others, and I made some points on those. I wrote down some points on those, and those include things like the the tipping of the scales towards the other end of, and resulting in an over exaggeration of macho-ness,
Mm.
right? Because there's an overcompensation on one side.
Mhm.
Also, things like, a lot of people think that what a man is a male that has a lot of acquisitions, whether it be money, whether it be household possessions, even a house, whether it be property, land, um, a number of cars, on top of a lot of women, you know, and that is not what a man is. These things are, again, as you mentioned, it is about boosting ego. It is about inflation of ego, for want of a better phrase, and they are fleeting. They yes, it's good to have those things, yes, but again, the first episode is what we spoke about, the foundation. We need to have that foundation. Without the foundation, these things make no sense.
Mhm.
right? So I'm not saying that is not good or fine to have these things. It's just you need to have the foundation, you need to have the responsibility, you need to have certain things in place before you have these things.
Yeah. So essentially, what you're saying is that if your manhood is defined by the possessions that you've acquired over time, then your manhood is built on unstable ground,
Correct. Very
right?
shaky.
Again, going back to episode one, the foundation, you have to have something deep and well rooted in order to develop and grow a long term you personally, and then a long term
A
legacy,
legacy, yeah.
right? But a lot of people, a lot of men are building their manhood, quote unquote, on material things. How many cars or type of car that I have, how much money I have. All of these things are nice, yes. But what makes a man is not his possessions. Because if someone is to take those things away from you,
Hmm.
do you have the strength, the courage? Again, courage comes back in to not only reacquire them, but to build something twice as big because you would have learned from whatever circumstance that would have caused you to lose those possessions. That is what makes a man, his character. And his character is made up of all of the things that we would have mentioned in part one of episode two and what we're mentioning now and what will continue to mention in the episode. And I think that is something that men need to become aware of. Your manhood is not based on the amount of jewelry you have, the amount of cars or the quality of the car, how many homes or the size of the home, and it's not even built on how many women that you may have. Your manhood is defined by your character, how strong your character is, and your character is built on honor, honesty, courage, and more coming up. All right. So the next one that we need to talk about, I think we should talk about that one here or on Patreon.
Um,
Because that one could go down a rabbit hole. Because we have two things. So we have one thing before that we mentioned that has to go on Patreon,
right.
and that one could go on Patreon too. What do you think?
Well, yeah. Let's leave it
All right. So
there.
guys, we have another episode on Patreon that we have to deal with. Patreon is coming soon, right? We're just working on the legal ramifications of it, but Patreon is coming soon. Don't worry. Okay. All right. So let's skip that one. All right. So we'll go to the emotional intelligence one.
Right.
Right. that one. That one we could actually, we could kind of stay on the surface for a little bit with this one. All right. So emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? All right. And oh, let me add a next. Let me add a part two. Right. Let me add a part two. would you say that firstly, what is emotional intelligence? And part two is, do you think men understand what it means to have emotional intelligence?
I could answer part two first.
Yeah, sure.
Part two, the answer is easy. The answer is no. Men, a lot of men most men don't know how to, first of all, what is emotional intelligence, and two, how to use it. Emotional intelligence is being able to control your emotions on a particular level. When I say a particular level, the strong emotions like anger and, well, let me stick with anger for now. Because it's the most common one. Um, a lot of men don't know how to control themselves.
Before you continue, right, bro? I want the guys to understand. Don't feel this is a men bashing um podcast, right? I think it's important that I mention this, and the reason why I'm mentioning it now is because we as men need to face our shortcomings, right? We need to face our shortcomings. This isn't about how the women feel, okay? This is about us being introspective and seeking to be better because we need to become leaders again. We're not leading our families, we're abandoning them. We're not leading our peers in the right direction. We're actually looking for what is fun as opposed to what is right. So we have to be able to face the fact that we have shortcomings and we have to fix them. Okay? I just wanted to put that out there before Nick continues.
And to add to that next, bro, I, and this is for all the guys out there as well, emotional intelligence, for me in particular, I am still going through it. I'm still learning about it. And in particular, that same example that I raised. So before I put, before I say any of these things, these are directed at me first, right? Um, because we are in no way perfect, right? Still learning, we're still going through life, and life, what better teacher is there than the school of life, you know? So don't think that I'm again speaking down to anyone or telling anybody what to do or anything like that, but I am talking from experience, right? Um, so I just want to put that out there and clear the air. So back to emotional intelligence, and in particular dealing with anger. Um, as we know, guys, anger is a very strong, very, very, very strong emotion, right? Is actually one of the most difficult emotions to deal with, to overcome. And it takes a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot of, well, a lot out of you. But in essence, when those things are taken out of you, you are left with better. What I mean by that is that it takes a lot of, again, courage, first of all, to face the flaws, to address the flaws, to accept the flaws without self defense, right? Looking in the mirror and saying, I am angry at every little thing, that the anger is directed towards, whether it's yourself, even, whether it's towards somebody else, whether it is towards family members, loved ones, etc. You know, and first of all, we need to look at these things objectively. We need to say, hey, I am struggling with this, right? I'm struggling with even forgiveness, which ties in with anger on so many levels. And we need to take a step back and be like, if I want to become better, I need to do what is necessary, take the steps necessary to do that. First of all, by again reflecting on the things that trigger you, that trigger me, and putting things in place to deal with those things. Working towards those things. So it's not just saying, well, I have anger issues, so yeah, that is me, and sum it up to that. No, we have to, if we want to honestly become better, we need to put in the work. We need to, and it's not just putting in the work one time, because something like anger, it is deep rooted. So you need to literally find the root, right, and cut it out. Resolve it. Find where it came from, the childhood traumas or things that were done to you, that are deep seated subconsciously, and basically say, I need to I need to find the root of this. And in finding the root of it, I need to heal from it. I need to move forward because this is keeping me back. And something like anger is one of those things that basically it come like you tie yourself up, right? You bang your hands, your feet, and you have literally like a big stone tie around your neck and you jump into a lake. Right? And it's it destroys, and again talking from experience, it destroys different and many parts of your life, especially in moving forward. You know, it destroys relationships that you try to build, and I'm not just talking about family. I'm talking about relationship, man, male, female relationships, right? And it's something that's, yeah, we it's something else, So we really need to work on that.
And I also want to mention that if that process is too overwhelming to do on your own, it's important that you seek the help that you need. Right? There are so many different organizations, right? We are not sponsored by them, but there is an online counseling platform called BetterHelp. There is the Trinidad and Tobago Psychological Association, where there's an entire database of different psychologists around Trinidad and Tobago. I'm sure across the Caribbean, there are other psychological associations that you can tap into to get access to counselors that can help you if you need it. But I think it's important that you be honest with yourself so that you can determine if you need the help or not. Because some of us may be able to do it on our own and others may not be. And I
Agreed.
think if if someone tells you, if someone cares about you enough to tell you that you need that help, I think it's important that you take that advice and go get that help, because that is the only way you could move forward in your life and achieve the things that you want to achieve and build the legacy that you seek to build. Because your traumas from that stem from whatever time in your life, they are going to cripple you. There's no question about it. You may think that is not, but if you go deep into why you do the things you do, certain nuances, certain behaviors, why you can't seem to stay in a stable relationship, why you only attract a certain type of woman, why you only attract a certain type of friends, why you only find yourself in certain situations. It's all based on things that you would have experienced in your past. And because of those things, you make particular decisions. There are patterns that are clear for people that could see it. And it's important that if you notice that you are reenacting patterns in your life every time, it's not the people in the patterns, it's you. And I'm not just telling you this, I'm talking about it from experience. We all, in some way, shape, or form, we all are broken people. And it's important that we understand that, and it's important that we fix ourselves. Okay. Anger is just one of many emotions that we need to get under control. It can be helpful in certain situations,
It can. It can.
but allowed it to run free, it could destroy our lives as well.
We see it all the time. We see it in society right through.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that, the bad side of anger is so rampant. That's why I mentioned this one and focus on this one, because it's so, like, it's subtle and one of the most destructive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because as I mentioned, it seeps into every aspect of yourself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? And if you're trying to move forward or trying to get better at anything, it could actually, well, majority of times it is a stumbling block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of us are angry because we're hurt,
Yes.
right? And we're hurt for different reasons. The main example right now that I can think of is the fact that a lot of us grew up without our father,
Hmm. Very true.
right? A lot of us have grown up without our father. And for whatever reason, and we, depending on who raised us, we would have been told particular things about that person, right? And the way in which we see the world would depend on our perception of that person.
That word
Perception,
again,
perception,
perception.
perception coming back up. Yeah. So we need to think about it. How did we perceive that man that would have assisted in giving us life? All right. The person that would have raised us, more than likely our mother, depending on her relationship with our father, our perception would depend on that very significantly.
Mhm.
Some men are fortunate that their mother would have told them that their father was a good man, and so on and so forth. It may not even be the case, but there's some woman that understands the importance of a good father-like image because they know that if the person that would have given that child life is seen in a good light by that child, then ultimately they would only seek people that would remind them of that person. However, if the mother would have talked negatively about that man, it may be true, it may not be true. Again, that talk, constant talk,
Mhm.
would shape how that child perceives the world.
Right.
It could be something like, you remind me so much of your father. Your father was selfish. And that constant talk, constant talk, constant talk, constant talk.
Mm.
Eventually, you would try not to be that so much that you lose sense of your needs when you become an adult. You now would give of yourself to everybody. And there are some people that take advantage of that. And you would start to see leeches in your life
Because that's what you're tracking.
because that's where you're tracking, because you can't control when to be selfish versus when to be selfless, right?
The
Again, the
balance.
balance.
Yeah.
Because there are times that you need to be selfish.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Of course.
There are times that you need to be selfish, but you can't be 99% selfish and you can't be 99% selfless either,
Yeah.
right? It should be 50-50. You should be selective in who you are selfless to versus who you are selfish
Selfish. Yeah.
toward, right? These things, boy, people don't realize how important it is to go back to relive the experiences they've had. Yes, it may hurt. It
Not may.
it will
It
hurt.
will.
It will hurt.
It will. It will.
But it's important. It is important that we face these traumas, these experiences, if we are to move forward as men. If you need counseling, go get counseling. I've done counseling, so don't worry. I'm not just telling it to you just for telling it to you. I've done it.
As have I.
So go get counseling if you need counseling.
So we ain't just making this up. We
Um,
ain't just saying, not like we sitting on cloud nine and telling everybody else, go and get help. No, we've been there.
yeah. Go get counseling, take therapy. Find someone that you can work with, because let's be honest, not every counselor is going to work well with everyone, right? I've had excellent counselors and I've had not so good ones. So there's a database for those of us living in Trinidad. There's a database on the Trinidad and Tobago Psychological Society. Go check it out. There are a number of psychologists, counselors there. For our international audience, there is BetterHelp, where you can search for a counselor, give a rating, switch counselors if you need to, if you don't like the one that you're with, right? Get help, because that is the beginning of the growth. Okay, you need to take control over your emotions, whether it be anger, whether it be sorrow, whether it be indifference, right? Um, Apart from emotions, negative traits such as narcissism.
I'm glad you mentioned that, bro, because I was actually going to talk about that just
All
now.
right, yeah, yeah.
Because we've seen, well, as you know, we have there's a saying that says we are not responsible for what has happened to us in some cases, the traumas that we've been through, that we've been exposed to, that was done to us. But we are responsible for our healing. And based on what we just spoke about, we've seen too many men commit suicide. We've seen too many men lash out, even for the simplest of things, whether it's a bad drive, road rage, lash out at women, their significant others, their sisters, their mothers, and even more so their own brothers, not literally brothers, but it could be their literal brothers, as well as other men in society, for whatever reason, because they can't deal with their own issues. They can't deal with their own emotional traumas. So it's too much. It's too much. Like we need to, now is the time that we need to talk about these things. I mean, I'm sure there are other people who have been talking about these things for some time, but again, we're just trying to raise the standard, raise the banner again. To it's time to do something about it.
I want to talk about stoicism.
Hmm.
Not too much in depth, just briefly. Would you say this is no facts, right? This is we're just based on what we believe, what we think, based on the things that we would have seen. Do you think that the majority of men, not only in our country but across the world, do you think what or I should say, what on average, what percentage of men would you say are stoic in nature? Uh, to be stoic means to have things happen to you and still have poise, whether it be good or bad. You're neither up nor down. You're just calm. I'm not saying that you're not experiencing joy or sorrow or anger or pain, but you are in control. What percentage of men you would say is stoic in nature?
I don't want to give a exact figure, but I would say an extremely small percentage. Extremely small.
Mm.
So I'll just give an arbitrary figure. So let's say if we have 100% of the world's population as male, obviously that's not the case, but I would say maybe about 5% being generous.
Mm. Well, I'm sure we could interpolate that back down to the actual male population, the global male population.
Well, yeah,
So
out of the 100,
so yeah, it's say about
possibly.
it's say about 5%. I'd say it might even be less.
Like a 3, a 2,
Maybe even one. Now 1% might sound like a little bit, but 1% of 3 billion
3 billion. Yeah,
that's still a lot of people. But
uh,
compared to the entire population is a bit
true.
small.
Yeah,
However, that needs to go up
most definitely. Most definitely.
because again, we need leaders. We need leaders. We need more.
Not just leaders, bro. We need good leaders. Good leaders. Because we have leaders now and we see where things are.
Thanks for putting that in. Thanks for putting that in
No problem.
because that could not have been even truer. That could not have been any truer. We need good leaders. There are a lot of people in leadership positions that are not leaders, be it in our workplace, places of worship, or otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need men to become leaders again, good leaders again. Bring some control, some stability, some direction. People are moving haphazardly in life. Perfect example right here. We've been in a pandemic for 2 years, right? We're coming out of that pandemic. What's the first thing we've been seeing since we've been coming out of that pandemic
In Trinidad.
in Trinidad? And not only Trinidad, because I've been observing across the globe as well. But let's just use Trinidad for now.
All right. So for this example, I would say everybody, basically everything they didn't get to do over that time period that they were locked up, quote unquote, for, they just decide, hey, just let loose.
Like caged animals.
Yes. Everything, literally anything and everything I could think about. Yeah.
So now, essentially, you wanted to go back to normal. And that's exactly what we did. But our normal wasn't good. That's the problem. Our normal was not good. Our normal was not productive. Our normal was not innovative. We're still relying on leaders to give us direction when it's our responsibility to do what we need to do for our lives. It's happening in other countries too. Let's use the US for an example. When they were locked up, they were going crazy, right? I noticed, however, some decided to use that time to create things. But I saw a vast majority, as soon as things opened back up, what was the first thing they did? Party. I'm not saying don't party. But I'm going to use an example that was said by someone the Americans should know. If I remember correctly, T.I. would have mentioned, I don't see the sense in partying for no reason. I party if I would have accomplished something. So I party to celebrate a milestone. I don't party for no reason. And I think I hope I'm quoting Ti right. I do not want any lawsuit. I really hope I'm quoting you right. If I'm not quoting you right, I humbly apologize, Ti. But it made sense. Why do you just party? Just party. What
Mm.
did you accomplish over the past 5 years? Or we're talking about the pandemic,
The
past 2 years,
2 years.
that makes you deserve to party, makes you deserving of partying. What have you done? What have you accomplished?
Well, if I may seek to understand, now I may not speak for everybody, but I'm sure there are those that I can, this answer would probably apply to them because I can and because I feel to.
Hmm. Well, if that's the case, I think it's important to know that for every action you take, there are consequences. So, if at any point in time you feel as though you should complain about the circumstances in which you live, it's important to understand that the time that you had, you used it to do one thing when you could have used it to do another thing. No one owes you anything. I want people to understand this. No one owes you anything. No one owes us anything, right? We could talk about we could talk about slavery. Everyone wants reparations, which I think is important. However, I don't think we should wait on it. Understand? I don't think we should wait on it. I think yes, people who are advocating for it, go for it. 100%. I agree. But waiting for it with our hands out, you'll have a long wait until we take responsibility and acquire our own resources. The things that happen to us will continue to happen to us. And I'm not just talking about those that would have experienced slavery. I'm also talking about everyone else that feels as though they've been slighted in society, regardless of heritage. If you feel you have been slighted, look at the actions that you would have taken over time. Yes, some of us would have been born into particular circumstances, but I think it's also important that we do our best, that when we become an adult, to do what is necessary for us to come out of the circumstances that we were born into. Neither of us were born with gold spoons in our mouth. We saw our parents struggle. My mother came home one day and saw an eviction notice on my parents' apartment. And the the rent wasn't that much, but listen, it wasn't the end. My mother did what she needed to do. She went, she educated herself, she acquired skills, she acquired certifications. My father, he went, he did what he needed to do, he acquired certifications, and not only were they able to begin paying the rent again, but they were able to buy the two apartment house and make it into one home. That's one aspect of have living in a particular circumstance and coming out of it. Right? This is what we're doing right now. We were taught that we should go to school, get a good education. Nothing is wrong with that. Get a good paying job. That's nice. But if we would be completely honest with ourselves, the good paying jobs in the country that we live is reserved for those been that would have placed in the top 5% of graduating classes. Okay, so there is a very large population in the middle that would have graduated with first class honors or upper second class honors and have to settle for a particular, right?
What would you say, Robbie, before you continue,
Mhm.
are the good, well paying jobs for those outside who may not know?
Okay, so in Trinidad, the well paying jobs are considered to be attorney at law, medical doctor, engineer. Anything else? Those are the main three. Those are the main three. But the reality is that, again, only about the top 10%, top 5% of the entire population of graduating engineers, graduating doctors, graduating lawyers acquire those good paying jobs. So, what does the large middle class do? Settle? I think it's important that they understand that they should not settle. You would have acquired skill. We live in a society now where the internet is a place for monetary potential. It's important that you learn about it and use the skills that you would have acquired in university or otherwise to build something for yourself. Because we can't depend on, or not can't, but we shouldn't depend on a government or a company or whoever else to give us income because we chose to get a degree or we chose to get some sort of certification. And this is what we're doing, right? We're using the internet to create a platform, a foundation from which to build, right? And I think it's important that people realize that, okay, nothing is wrong with being an employee. I'm not saying that. But if you are seeking more, then there are avenues that you could take, right? Because you cannot be in a situation that you don't like, have avenues to get out of it, and don't take them and complain about the situation that you don't like.
Correct.
If you are content and at peace and fulfilled in the situation that you are in, you are not the person that I'm talking to, right? You are not the person that I'm talking to. I'm talking to that person who is not satisfied with the situation that they're in. They feel as though they are underpaid, they are underappreciated, they are disrespected, and they deserve more. No one is going to give you more. This is not the world we are living. That's not the world that we live in. We live in a world that gives you what you deserve, even though you don't think you deserve it. I hope people understand what I just said.
That's a very controversial statement, but it is a fact. Again, whether you believe it or not.
No one gives you what you deserve, even though you think you deserve it. I think I deserve $15,000 a month or $20,000 a month. Okay, I think I deserve $150,000 a month. Okay, I could think whatever. I could think whatever. But the reality is, unless I'm adding value to the marketplace, understand this? Unless you are adding value worth that to the marketplace, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Please understand, you get what you deserve, even though you don't think you deserve that, right? If you want what you think you deserve, you need to add value equivalent to that. Okay? You,
So those employees who are always complaining about the situation they're in without doing anything to either make a step or work towards improving the situation, or even, let's say, working on things to that fulfill them, what would you say to them other than the value?
I want you to repeat that question.
So the question is, for the persons who are employed, who for whatever reason they don't like the situation that they're in, they don't like where they are at in the place of employment, what can you say to them other than doing things to increase their value? What can you say to them for them to, well, basically to help them get better and to be in a place that they feel fulfilled? Because the reason why I said that is, saying it is one thing, but a lot of people don't have the know-how as to where to
Where
start.
to begin?
Yes.
I understand. Okay. So the first thing you need to do, if you don't do it already, you need to read. And you're probably asking, what do I need to read? Well, there are a number of books. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to talk about a number of books. I'm going to talk about things that I would have read. The first book that changed my life was a book called The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. Some of you may have heard of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. But Think and Grow Rich is actually a summary. The book that created Think and Grow Rich is actually a series of books called The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. And it talks about, essentially, it talks about the mental shift, one, that is necessary to become successful. Meaning, you have to believe that you are worthy of success. Two, creating or finding yourself in a group of people that can create something called a mastermind. And a mastermind is two or three people agreeing on a particular goal and working toward that goal. I shouldn't say two or three, two and more people. So if you want to find out where to start, start there. That's the first thing. Second thing, work on something that you enjoy that you can monetize. For example, I enjoy people. I enjoy knowledge. I enjoy studying people and acquiring knowledge and writing stories and telling stories. So, Legacy of the King and anything else in that sphere is my way of using the things that I'm passionate about and I enjoy to create something that is monetizable. If it is you enjoy dancing, again, the internet is a perfect place to begin. There's YouTube, there's Patreon. Create a channel teaching people how to dance. If your thing is art, create a channel showcasing your art, showcasing your process. If your thing is travel, you love traveling, create a traveling vlog. You can get a lot of sponsorships from governments, um, travel agencies. There's so many opportunities out there, right? And again, you can't just sit and hope that people will see how valuable you are. You have to see how valuable you are in order for others to see it.
Would you agree, bro, that the world, society, and others around us value us the same way that we value ourselves?
No. And I think I know where this is coming from. This is coming from what I would have written on LinkedIn. Was it that? Or is it something else?
It's something else, but it could be the exact same thing as well.
Mm. And this is as it relates to the men.
Yes.
Right. Well, yeah. So I'll use what I would have written on LinkedIn. Um,
Well, let me
to
say, let's start with the men. I'll come back to the next point shortly.
okay. So as men, our value is based, and if you check my LinkedIn and also check my Instagram, Run Legacy Official, I would have mentioned that society sees our value based on the quantity and quality of things that we can provide. For men, that is one of the hardest pills to swallow. Society values us based on the quantity and quality of things that we can provide. Right? We are loved on condition. Right?
Right.
We are loved on a condition. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally.
Right.
Right? We are loved on condition. It's a harsh reality,
Mm-hmm.
but unless there's a significant paradigm shift in society, it's not going to change. So, what do we do as men? We need to accept the fact that it's not going to change, one, and two, do the things necessary that will make us valuable, while at the same time, and this is important, while at the same time being fulfilled. That's difficult to do because you're thinking, okay, I have to provide value, I have to provide value. But you have to remember your peace of mind as a man. We are more likely to get stroke and heart attack
Hmm.
than women. I don't know the exact thing, the exact stat,
Right. The numbers.
the numbers, but we are more likely to get heart attack and stroke than women. And that is because our peace of mind isn't paramount. We are not valuing the way we feel inside because we're not taught to feel, right? And that's why I think it's important that we focus on that second part. Yes, we add in value, but we have to focus on our peace of mind as well. We need to feel fulfilled in what we're doing, right? So even though we are loved on condition, we accept that, but I need to feel at peace doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay. And the second point was that back to the employees, he had mentioned if we don't create value for ourselves as employees, no one will value us.
Hmm.
So, my question is that value? Is that does the world, so for example, if we put value on, do all the necessary steps to put value and create value on what we do as employees, do you think the world would see that value the same way we see it as employees?
Well, I think for the employees that feel as though they're being slighted, I think I think it's important for them to give themselves an option when it comes to employment. In other words, if what you have decided to do on the side, outside of your job, is bringing more value to you, or bringing what you think you deserve, more of what you think you deserve than your actual job, you have the option to leave. You have the option to now negotiate your time. Because if you think you are bringing value to that establishment and they are not compensating you for that value, you have the option to leave. You have now the chance to negotiate, because now that person understands that you know how much you're worth. So now they have to negotiate for your time, right? You need to put yourself in a position of leverage. How am I going to leverage? And it's not leveraging your money, but leveraging your time. You could always make money. You can't make time. You only have a certain amount of time. So put yourself in a position of leverage if you would like to negotiate the value that you think you're worth.
Okay. Okay. And also, do you agree that not everyone is cut out to be, or let's say those who are already employed, that not all of them, for want of a better phrase, or to take another take on it, that employment is not for them?
Yeah, I would say that. I would say there are a few people, not many, but there are a few people that employment is not cut out for.
So would you say that they're actually really meant to be entrepreneurs or
Yeah,
something else?
some people are meant to be entrepreneurs. Now, I must mention there is an element of entrepreneurship in everyone. Some have it stronger than others,
Right.
but there's an element in entrepreneurship in everyone. But for those who are not cut out to be employees, understand that whatever it is that you do decide to do, you need to understand how to market yourself. All right. And there are a lot of people that can teach you how to do that if you don't know how to do it. If you choose to go learn about it on your own, fine. But there are people that can teach you how to do it, that can advise your company, that if you choose to start one, or advise you if you choose to be self employed, to how to market yourself, how to market your brand, and how to position yourself in such a way that you can create an income for yourself.
Okay.
All right.
You we have any more points for the
Yeah, we have one more, but I think we'll leave that one for another time.
okay.
As in, not part three. There's no part three. All right. What is a man is ending here.
Yes.
Right. But the next one, I think we'll put that in one of the later episodes.
All right.
Right, we put that one of the later episodes. Right. Um. So, I think we could stop here.
Yeah, I think
I think we could stop here. We
another good episode.
Yeah, a great episode. I think we're getting better at this. I
Yeah,
think we're getting better at this,
as it should be.
as it should be. Right. So, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Run Legacy Official, at Nick Legacy Official.
Official.
Follow the Legacy of the King podcast as at Legacy of the King _ official. Um, look out for more content. Uh, and we're looking to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we could continue to give you proper content, more quality content, better quality content, right? And stay tuned for all of the things that are coming up. We're going to be doing um, coaching for all those men that think they need to get advice. They're seeking excellence, they're seeking to build a legacy. Look out for Patreon, right? We have a lot of things coming up, so guys, look out for it. And we'll see you all in the next episode. All right,
See you
everyone.
guys. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks again for tuning in. And we'll see you all again next week.
Yes.
Take care.
Take care.